Hi, I'm Daniel Nyman. On behalf of the Forum for Healthcare Strategists, as well as our colleagues at Unlock Health, welcome and thank you for joining us for Lower Cost, Higher Impact, Building Healthcare Campaigns that Convert. In today's performance-driven healthcare marketing landscape, every dollar spent needs to drive action, not just awareness. But with rising acquisition costs, fragmented data, and consumer trust at an all-time low, even smart campaigns can miss the mark. So what does it take to build an effective campaign? Steve Plimmer, Senior Digital Program Director at Unlock Health, and Jeff Stiebla, Unlock's Vice President of Growth Solution, are here to share the keys to success. Together, they'll break down what top performing campaigns do differently and how you can lower cost per acquisition, shorten the path to conversion, and drive real pipeline. One note before we begin, if you'd like to ask a question, please enter it into the question and answer pane on the bottom of your screen at any time. Our speakers will respond to as many questions as they can in the time that we have. With that, I'll turn the program over to Jeff.
Thanks, Daniel, and hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. As Daniel said, our presentation is called Lower Cost, Higher Impact, Building Healthcare Campaigns that Convert, and there's a very good reason for that. We feel at the end of the day, marketing should be driving patient acquisition, service line volume, and of course, net patient revenue. We'll start by letting you know a little bit about ourselves, and I'll let Steve begin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Plimmer. I'm the Senior Digital Program Director for the performance marketing team at Unlock Health. I support strategic accounts. I've got over 18 years of international digital marketing experience, driving performance across a massive range of B2B, B2C verticals, as well as healthcare, of course. And despite being here for 12 years, I've never lost my accent.
I love that. And my name is Jeff Stiebla. I'm the VP of Growth Solutions at Unlock Health. I've been consulting in healthcare for over 20 years. My passion really being around data-driven decision-making and also the consumerization of healthcare. Basically trying to help hospitals and health systems communicate effectively to those looking for care and get out of our own way when we're doing that. I've had the pleasure of working alongside some very forward-thinking provider organizations to help bring their marketing to the next level, especially in terms of patient acquisition. And I know we've got a lot of exciting stuff to cover today, so let's dive in. If you're like me, you want to have a sense of what we're going to cover. So we'll give you a brief outline of today's discussion. First, we're going to talk about where we're at in healthcare right now and what the keys to success are in our current era. Then we're going to dive into some specifics around healthcare search campaigns. We'll talk about the importance of testing, the optimal service lines to promote, what hurts and drives SEM performance, including straight up campaign killers that you should avoid. Then what we're going to do is wrap up with some key takeaways and hopefully have time for some questions at the end. So it's no secret, right, that we're living in a completely new era of healthcare. It's one that's more digital than ever before. Patients today, they expect convenience, they expect speed, accessibility, whether they're finding a doctor or booking an appointment or researching symptoms, it all starts online. And that's why digital marketing, it's really no longer a nice to have, it's absolutely essential. We need to meet patients where they are, and we need to guide them through their healthcare journey. In addition to that, on the other side, you have marketing teams that are now tasked with providing measurable results more than they ever have before. So as we see the industry move away from thinking of marketing as a cost center and moves toward thinking of marketing as a revenue generator, it becomes paramount that the effectiveness of the marketing is measured as well. So let's first talk briefly about the big picture in healthcare right now, because healthcare marketers really need to understand what we're up against. We're looking at an increase in the uninsured in this country with over $80 billion in annual Medicaid cuts and ACA premium subsidies being sunsetted. We're looking at rising costs due to inflation, and we're looking at the meltdown of Medicare Advantage, decreasing profitability. So if you want to move forward, Steve. So in effect, we're seeing that in general, expenses are high while revenue is either flat or declining. So you have hospitals operating with extremely tight margins. And think about this, nearly 8 in 10 hospitals operate at or near break even. This is what Fitch Ratings calls the 75-75 conundrum. About 75% of health system expenses, that's like salaries, wages, benefits, supplies, that all continues to rise, while 75% of revenue is fixed, flat, or actually decreasing year over year. So fundamentally, this is a business model that is not sustainable. If it wasn't for things like government subsidies, intercompany transfers within health systems, most hospitals would be operating in the red. So we're here to sort of answer, what can digital performance marketing do to help that, right? This is a very volatile environment, and this is really where the rubber hits the road. So first, let's talk briefly about where things stand in the industry as far as paid digital goes. What we're seeing post-pandemic, we've seen a huge surge in people going online to search for healthcare. Over the past few years, many consumers are resuming care that they put on hold. That's showing up big time in search data. And in fact, search continues to be the most cost-effective advertising that also yields measurable results. Paid search in particular has been booming year over year since 2019, sometimes as much as a 30% increase. Most recently, in 2024, hospitals and other providers saw a 14% increase in search volume over the previous year. And Steve, I think you wanted to make a point about ad impressions here as well.
Yeah, so Google, independent of the changes in search query volume, they're also increasing the range of queries that ads are delivering against. So ad impressions are growing at basically 10 times the speed that queries are growing at, and you're basically getting more ads showing per query. It's what's known as ad depth, where we're looking at around about 15% more ads per query year on year, which is increasing competition just to get the click itself.
Yeah, well said. And it's not just general care that we're seeing increases in. We're seeing it in big service lines like cancer services, orthopedics, cardiology, neurology. They're seeing steady year over year growth. You can see the numbers here that are most recent that we just pulled. And these are also typically, the service lines driving the largest proportion of revenue to hospitals and health systems. So then, in addition to that, other services like primary care, urgent care, and screenings, those are critical because they are most likely the front door for new patients who will then be more likely to use a system for other services down the line. We're also seeing social media being a critical layer added to the mix as well. Paid social is one of those things that used to be largely used as an awareness tactic, but over the course of the past 5 years, we've seen it become an effective conversion tactic all on its own. And that's in addition to it helping elevate search results as well. And then on the system side, we've seen a lot of volatility in the market these past 5 years. During the pandemic, some systems paused marketing, and then others doubled down and gained serious market share. So now what we found is that most systems, they are investing heavily in paid digital because it's proven to drive revenue and ROI. So it's a very competitive field. And then Steve, I'll let you jump in here.
Yeah, so the pressure, of course, is to do more with less where possible, and part of this is through really tightly integrating your marketing efforts with data integration. Digital marketing in particular thrives on data, so being able to combine the likes of CRM data with behavioral claims-based insights as well really helps you identify high propensity consumers, and you can leverage as well authentic healthcare marketing personas to reach the audiences that you may not be reaching at the moment. We recommend as well using segmentation models to prioritize the campaigns for the audiences with both clinical need and commercial value. And you want to implement as well performance dashboards, making sure you really can track your ROI, reallocate budgets where you need it the most, and really, to do this, you need to integrate first and second and third-party data across your strategy. And then in terms of driving commercial volume, obviously you want to focus on the high-value patient segments. That's where the commercial volume lies, and you can really do that through performance marketing. You really have to do a deep dive in your SEM, in your SEO, your other paid channels, to make sure that you're focusing on the profitable segments, the profitable locations, and all the profitable contexts on digital. You want to really try and look at where you invest in the full funnel campaigns, so that you really speak to potential patients from just awareness level right at the very top all the way down to setting the appointment. And using patient journey based creative as well to focus in on that and get the most out of the investment. And then also settling on and sharing KPIs across the media, across the CRM and the access teams to ensure that everyone is aligned. And internal communication, of course, is crucial to get full insight into access levels, because you don't want to invest where you don't have appointments. And then doubling down on the brand as well is very, very important. You want to make sure that you really strengthen the brand, give it an authentic voice, position it based in the organizational mission, in its values, in its vision, and ensure that leadership, frontline staff, they all believe in the brand, in the positioning, in the tone, make everything coherent and consistent, evaluate all the new messages, evaluate all the paths that patients get to see your brand, to make sure that everyone who distributes your brand is trusted and a high authority, and also correlate your efforts for brand strength and awareness along with the media cost, so that you can marry the strength with the ROI, and we call that the unlock health tipping point. And you also want to make sure that your marketing efforts align with these 4 dimensions of authentic healthcare marketing. We really believe in authenticity. It's crucial in this world of AI and the post-truth world, as people often call it. Basically, does it speak a human truth to your audience? Is it meaningful to your audience? Is it also believable? Really important. And can your audience trust what you're saying? Absolutely vital.
So
And
diving
Jeff,
into
yeah,
I'll jump in. Diving into the tipping point that Steve mentioned, what we call the tipping point. This is where brand strength intersects with cost per acquisition and performance marketing. So what we found in our research, there is a direct correlation between composite brand strength, which is typically awareness and or preference, and cost per acquisition when you're doing patient acquisition. So as brand strength increases, CPA decreases. But this correlation isn't linear. There is a tipping point. So when a brand eclipses a certain preference threshold, the performance marketing CPA suddenly decreases exponentially. So when you reach that point, you're seeing brand and performance marketing, they're no longer pitted against each other. They are not competing for budgeting dollars. They are 2 factors that are very much linked within a marketing ecosystem. So when we begin to monitor the impact of our brand efforts on performance marketing and vice versa, we can actually begin planning campaigns in a more unique way. Back to you.
Yeah, and so that can lead us into brand SEM ads. There's always a constant debate about brand SEM. Do we pay for brand traffic? Do we not pay for brand traffic? And really, some of the answer, based on the data that's been coming out, is kind of, it depends in a way. But I think there are ways to do it, even if you don't want to go all in. So first of all, in terms of looking at the data to do with brand and SEM, there was a recent survey that came out last month, and it proves that brand strength drives brand searches. Firstly, that's clear. It comes from Unlock Research as well. But also brand SEM ads, they convert on new clients in terms of the incremental lift for brand SEM ads is 1.7 times that of existing clients. And brand SEM incrementality is really heavily affected by the amount of competition on the brand. So the higher the competition, the higher the incrementality. And that's crucial. It's really what you would think of as brand defense. And in terms of how you deal with these findings, really, there's several different ways. But first of all, I would say break out the brand traffic into its own campaign. You ring fence the budget. It's going to perform differently from your non-brand traffic. So you want to set different bidding strategies and test which one works the best in terms of diminishing returns. Once it's separate, using TCPA bidding, which is target CPA bidding, within search, custom to the traffic, it'll focus the budget on converting users specifically rather than just you being present everywhere. And it obviously the data you can see there shows that those new to the brand are more likely to convert on ads. So by setting a conversion preference, you're more likely to get new users. New patients. And in terms of a target impression share, we recommend generally avoiding that if your aim is incrementality, because that bidding type just ignores conversion data. And if you don't want to go all in on brand for your own purposes, you might have your own reasons, then we do recommend at least setting a target impression share bidding strategy with a max CPC, and really just to get you somewhere over the 10% threshold whereby you can see auction insights, so you can see when competitors join the auction. You might look at that originally and you see no competitors, that's fine, but if you stay above the 10%, if a competitor jumps in, you'll see them immediately, and then you can act on that and start defending your brand like you should. And you can check that maybe once a month, something like that, to keep an eye on things. But because CPCs are very, very low with brand, this is not a high cost strategy, very cheap, and at the same time, the benefits of being able to see when an interloper comes onto your brand and being able to act on and defend that are huge and far outweigh the costs of a few clicks a month.
Yeah, excellent points. This one should be a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised how often it's not, right? It's really critical to establish your metrics of success right at the beginning of a campaign, and to ensure that those metrics are actually meaningful, especially for leadership who right now needs to account for every dollar in their marketing budget. So when you're establishing metrics of success, it's important to ensure, number one, that they are aligned with internal goals. These can be specific high-level objectives, such as service line volume, revenue goals, but they also should drill down to campaign-specific goals. So as far as those go, we feel strongly that there are 4 campaign KPIs that are most important to monitor. CPA, which is cost per acquisition, number of conversions, no matter however you define conversion, they're typically in the form of phone calls or online leads, but they can be something else as well. Impression share and competitive insights or auction insights, as Steve mentioned. The reason that we really focus on these 3 is because, number one, they're tied to the amount of opportunity that exists in your market. When you're looking at all 4 of those combined, you can get a sense of how much opportunity exists within your market for a specific service line. And then that can inform how much budget you put toward it, right? So how competitive is your market? How many potential conversions can you get? And where is the sweet spot in terms of putting budget against that? But then it's also important to look at quality metrics. We underscore really 3 main KPIs for quality. One is click-through rate. One is top impression percent, which is the number of times your ads show up, on top of organic search results. And then absolute top impression percent, which is the number of times they show up in the number 1 spot on the search engine results page. Those quality metrics, those are things you cannot buy, right? They are rewarded based on the quality of the advertising as well as the quality of the landing page and how those two things marry. So what you see a lot of still these days is a lot of people still focusing on vanity metrics, right? They're just driving internet traffic to a website. At the end of the day, that's not a particularly difficult thing to do. Google's made a whole business model around it, right? I mean, just driving traffic is not very hard. You shouldn't really have to pay that much. But what's really key is driving the right kind of traffic to a landing page with a strong call to action that actually leads to conversions. That's where, we feel the rubber hits the road. So it's important to really educate leadership about each of these metrics and then over the course of the campaign, constantly remind them that this is the best way to measure success of a campaign. If you want to go to reporting, it's also really important to agree upon and set an expectation for reporting. So I'm going from micro to macro here. We would say if you have a robust performance marketing strategy, you should essentially have 4 layers of meeting and reporting. First, a weekly check-in. That's for like the nitty-gritty between teams, right? Who owes who what are the deliverables? What are the kinds of details we need to keep things running smoothly, running on time, that sort of thing. Second, monthly performance reporting. This is where teams should dive into campaign-specific performance results and say, how did we do last month? And then add a level of insight on top of that data to really look at the story behind the data. So you don't just want to throw campaign data over the fence. You want to think, what is this data telling us? What do we think is happening and why? And then how does that inform our recommendations for any large changes or optimizations or next steps? Then third, you want to go even a higher level, right? More of like a 30,000-foot view at the end of every quarter with a quarterly strategy session. This is where we all raise our heads from our desks to look at the bigger picture, right? Because we're so in the weeds on the day-to-day, we forget to do this sometimes. So quarterly, taking that time to say, what did we accomplish together last quarter? What is the data telling us that can inform how we move forward next quarter? And what recommendations or learnings do we have that we can put in place for that following quarter? And then finally, we recommend an annual planning session among teams. This is preferably in person, preferably during budgeting season, where you can then get even higher level discussing both just major changes in the healthcare industry as a whole. You can discuss the digital trends we're seeing, and then review specifically, the year's campaigns, and again, what we accomplished together in the past year, and then use all of those factors to begin planning for the following year. And that's why it is best to do it around budget season, because that's where you can use the data to argue the point for leadership for potentially increased budget wherever you need it. Because as we all know, physicians and C-suite leaders, they don't always respect opinions, but they do always respect data. So if your data is telling a story and you can put that data and the story in front of leadership, you're more likely to get what you need for the following year. All right, Steve.
Okay, so what do you need to succeed, basically? What are the prerequisites to getting to marketing, performance marketing success in particular? First of all, really you need flexibility. And to be honest, this is no particular order, but you need flexibility basically where you want to try and meet the context with the structure that you build out, with the approach. You have a kind of penciled in budget distribution so that you are happy to chop and change where the data tells you to go. You want to allow potential patients to convert as well how they wish to convert. So you want to minimize friction to conversion. That's another key thing. Be flexible in how you have potential patients interact with you and your website. Nimbleness as well is key, because you want to be able to react to fast changing environments, financially, competitive environment, legally, regulatory, all kinds of things change all the time, and you want to be able to deal with that, and also performance changes. for instance, if you have access issues. Effectiveness as well is pretty important because you want to be able to unpick things like the search intent within the search traffic. You want to squeeze that value out of any unclear intent as best you can. There's a lot of ambiguity in search, more than you might imagine. You want to drive messaging impact as well with ongoing testing. A/B testing your messages and the formatting and the channels you choose. There's a whole range of options there. In terms of focus as well, you want to really make sure that you define your goals. You want to track your outcomes. You want to tightly prioritize your budgets, track access levels, of course, to make informed budgetary decisions beyond the day-to-day performance. And then, central to everything, can't emphasize this enough, measure your ROI. Ensure that you really have rock solid tracking, including calls. You'd be surprised how many advertisers don't track calls. But in lieu of this, if this isn't an option for one of many possible reasons, then if you have enough data, then MMM, media mix modeling, can be an option as opposed to granular attribution, but it does at least give you a sense of uplift caused by your investment. But basically being able to measure the effect of your marketing investment is really vital to maximize your competitiveness. And then testing, the value of testing, it's pretty essential to, once you've got everything set up, it's pretty crucial to be able to drive performance forward. And one of the key planks is through testing across the channel. So we'll have a quick look at the ways that you can test and a few tips along the way. Ad messaging for SEM is obviously pretty central. It can improve your CTR, it can improve your conversion rate, and of course, all else being equal, it can improve your CPA. And so, you know, with A/B testing, you can use the ad creation process. You want to make sure that the way you set up the ads is conducive to testing at scale. And you can do campaign level ad variant experiments as well. If you set it up in such a way that key messaging can be shared across ad groups. Again, you don't do everything, but you still customize to their group. But there are certain elements that you can test across ad groups, and that eases the testing challenges. Ad group customization as well is still possible at scale, and customized fields can still be A/B tested. You want to test the dynamic location insertion in ads as well. Test countdowns where it's appropriate. There's that can also improve CTR and conversion rate. You also want to test bidding options, bidding targets, types of bidding. You can use that with experiments within Google Ads. It's an experiment setting where you split the traffic so that it's concurrent rather than you just switching it over. You can actually test before you switch, and that's a good thing. And that can give you a better CPA, of course, and more volume within the same budget. And you can also do extension messaging. There's lots of ad extension options out there. Image extensions, site links, of course, which can have a really large effect. Call out extensions and so on. And you can test them being on and off. You can test the content across the different versions. You have multiple versions of the same kind of extension class. That can lead to better CTR, better CPC, because you might get a better quality score, which is fed by expected CTR based on your setup. Conversion rate as well can be improved, and of course, CPA. One prerequisite, of course, is that you have clean traffic, clean data, that you have good tight traffic control, and you know what's coming through any given campaign or any given ad group. Pretty important. Only one test should be performed at a time, so you have a hygienic data. And also, there's new asset level performance metrics that have come out in Google as of June this year, which allow you to see every single key metric against every single asset. For instance, the headline or the image extension, so you can see how many clicks, how many conversions, how many impressions were received by those individual assets. It used to be just impressions only, which is not particularly helpful, but they've updated that, and so it's a lot better now. In terms of YouTube, YouTube, of course, can be pretty resource heavy, but the payoff is it does have a huge reach. It's by far the most popular streaming platform in the world. It reaches TVs as well as mobiles and computers. Even shorts are watched on TV very heavily as well, even though the vertical format. So it's definitely worth testing shorts because it's a very specific format. It's vertical. So you may need to invest in adding that version of the video. Google does give you a way to do that now automatically, but you have way more control if you do it yourself. And ad sequencing is another key thing you can test because it can really lead to a better frequency level and also better engagement, because it's a fantastic way to reduce creative fatigue. Ad sequencing is when you say, okay, here's ad one. Now, if someone has watched ad one, they're now going to watch ad two. If someone's watched ad two, they're now going to watch ad three. So it's a great way of getting around retargeting limitations. You can also test a variety of messages. The sequence doesn't have to knit together thematically. You can test 1 versus 2 versus 3 and see how the view rate changes and compares. But you can also, of course, as a sequence, tell a longer and engaging story with maybe multiple testimonials, for example. Demand gen campaigns are a new campaign type, not been around for that long. They keep changing and improving it. It's taken over from YouTube for Action campaigns, which is why I'm mentioning it here. And YouTube for Action campaigns are basically where you are aiming for a target CPA. And so demand gen now serves YouTube ads on that basis. And audience retention is also another key element in YouTube, is that you can see the analytics by audience in terms of demographic. So you can understand where your viewing drops off by audience, not just overall, but amongst a particular demographic during the video's runtime. That's really, really important. The other testing option is audience versus topic targeting. There's a few different targeting methods, and audience, of course, is placement agnostic, channel agnostic, although you of course do have the ability to exclude channels, whereas topic targeting is very more specific to do with the subject of the video that people are watching. So you can test those two, see which works best, and the one with a better view rate or better conversion rate, better engagement generally is the one you keep and then develop further. Video Partners Network is another option you can add, and you really would want to test with and without. It does have, brand risks in terms of you're not quite sure where the ads are showing, and you have to kind of retroactively exclude them if you don't already have a prepared list. So it's a little bit risky, but nevertheless, it gives you reach. So it can potentially give you a better view rate, a better conversion rate, and also better engagement with the right targeting layered onto it. But there's a lot of options to A/B test there. So that's YouTube. The next one is social media. With social media, unlike YouTube, you can, on many platforms, not every platform, but many platforms like Meta, you can leverage HIPAA compliant third-party audience suppliers, the audience vendors. LiveRamp is one of them. But there's another one, Populi, and you can build out audience with some of them. You can build out audiences from your first-party data, but they kind of look alike audiences, but they're HIPAA compliant, so you can plug them into social networks and see how they perform for you versus not using them. But they can lead to better CTR and conversion rate, just better engagement metrics overall. You can also test network distribution options, particularly with something like Meta, because Meta now includes Threads, it includes WhatsApp, and it includes Instagram, and it includes Facebook. So maybe you're only on Facebook right now, but Instagram skews younger. You might want to test that. Maybe you actually want to narrow it down, so you're only doing say Instagram and not Facebook at all. Those kind of variants are pretty useful to test. In terms of audio, you don't want to forget about audio with social media in particular. You can have music playing choose different music tracks. You can choose voiceovers and try out different voiceovers on the same footage, like reels and that kind of thing. Always worth a test. That can improve CTR if you get a winner out of those tests, and obviously engagement. And then testing calls to action as well. There are a range of options in calls to action, and you can test that. Sort of, it's less of a lift than some of the other aspects, because you're not having to generate new content or creative. You're simply changing the text is basically what you're doing, and there's obviously a call to action button on some platforms, so you can see what resonates the best with your audiences, and you can have different tests for different audiences. So in terms of the tips, you want to aim for high risk condition audiences with the messaging and the imagery speaking to those subsets. You want to try and review the competitor ads where you can in ads library. Meta has an ads library, for instance, and so you can really make sure your ads differentiate your brand and your offering from the competitors. You don't want to look the same as your competitors if you can get away with it. And also ad sequences can be set up as well in Meta, and that gives you even more testing options similar to the YouTube sequences. And programmatic, finally. Programmatic is obviously a broad school, a broad church. It covers everything from CTV through to display, but I'm going to mainly concentrate on display, and you can get other programmatic video as well. But really, we want to suggest that you test third-party audience platforms, just like in social. That's a key thing. You want to pay attention to device performance. Some formats work better on one device over another. Formats and sizes, of course, there's so many out there. You've got native, you've got sort of flat image, you've got animated image, you've got responsive, all kinds of things. And you want to look at those formats and sizes and test them sequentially. And that can drive CTR, can drive conversion rate and frequency as well. You want to test placement or topic targeting, and then of course audience targeting as well. The three sort of separate areas you can target, and of course you can layer them as well. And you want to try and test them in concert with messaging variants as well. So you want to see when it's customized, does it perform better than when it's not customized? It probably will, but that's what you want to do to test to verify that. And test calls to action as well. That's another thing, just like with social. And also you really want to make sure that you're investing most heavily on devices that tend to send traffic that converts. So for instance, urgent care is heavily mobile. So really, if you want to spend some money on display or programmatic display, you want to try and lean towards the mobile audience. And then post-view conversions as well should be taken into account where possible when we're talking about really performance-based programmatic testing. But post-click obviously remains preferable, and it sort of is the strongest indicator. But post-view conversions, I would recommend not ignoring with a 1 or 2 day window, because it still gives you a sense of impact.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this is Jeff now.
Yeah, I can jump in. So selecting the service lines to prioritize obviously is critical as well. What's funny, and I'm sure a lot of people on this webinar have experienced this, sometimes the service lines that we promote are chosen a bit haphazardly, right? They can often be handed down from just a loud physician, kind of a squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of a thing, or other internal politics. Obviously, it can be directly tied to capacity, which makes sense. There are all sorts of factors. But if we're going off the data, there are ways to select the service line, more strategically. So we tend to say, look at the data and also partially look for those service lines that most closely mirror kind of the retail style funnel. So some common ones to focus on first for like quick wins would be the ones listed here. Ortho, weight loss, cancer and other routine screenings, prenatal services. You have elective surgeries like vasectomies and neuro. And then Steve, if you want to go forward one, In addition, some other service lines that can benefit from cross-channel or full funnel coverage are primary care, pediatric care, and as we discussed earlier, these are often kind of the front door to a system, urgent care as well. So you have different kinds of consumers, right? You have those who have primary care providers, so they probably come in through primary care. You have others who approach, primary care as more of a retail situation, so they come in through urgent care. But these are typically the front door to a system. So you not only get the lift for these services specifically when you're running campaigns for them, but they also typically lift all other service lines. And then we also see benefits in promoting other services like hospice care, transplants, behavioral health, or rehab. But in general, what you want to do is balance all of these based on data, profitability, and then, of course, those other internal factors I mentioned to basically force rank your priorities. In our experience, once you perform that exercise, you often find that the right service lines to promote weren't the ones you initially thought. And this really helps marketing prove its voice as a strategic partner and not just an order taker within the hospital or the health system. So you do want to ask questions when you're told to promote a service line, and you do want to ask, why this service line, and what does success look like? If you do those two things, you're more likely to set yourself up for success moving forward. Back to you, Steve.
Yeah, and then so doing a little bit more of a deep dive on SEM performance, we want to look at what hurts and drives performance. Firstly, what hurts? What's the killer? What's the bad stuff? So tracking is really central. I mean, you're flying blind if tracking is inadequate, if it's unreliable, if it's not insightful, if you have no real guiding light from a data perspective on tracking, then you're really in for a beating. So you've got to make sure you get some good tracking in place. Search partners is a very common error, I would say, that almost never use search partners if you can help it. It just is very low insight and also generally low intent, and also quite full of bot traffic as well. So really just kind of stay clear of it. It's too much of a mess to stay with if you want to be profitable. Over reliance on broad match is a big one as well, particularly if you have a limited budget. Really try and prioritize exact and phrase match because that is where the performance metrics are almost always better. And if you are factoring in broad match when you haven't established a performance history with exact and phrase, you're going to be chasing your tail trying to get efficient with this. And it also limits how you can grow. Broad match should be a second phase process once you've got exact phrase bedded in. Campaigns that are really granular, too many campaigns, that can really hamper the auto bidding in there. It can also hamper really understanding performance and getting tests successfully completed in a decent amount of time. Try and limit how many campaigns you have. You can have a lot of ad groups, but I think campaigns should be regulated in terms of volumes. Sometimes there's far too many. Lack of customization to the service line as well in terms of how you approach your structure. The structure should really be dependent on the service line and also your overall strategy in terms of, device priority. The length of the funnel matters. The range of search terms matter as to how you structure your campaigns. Having unclear goals. You can have all the tracking in the world, but if you don't know what you're trying to achieve, then it leaves you kind of rudderless. So having the clear goals really helps you to make decisions basically based on the data. Budget that is inadequate for the performance aspirations. If you're wanting thousands of conversions and you have a $1,000 budget, not going to work. So you need to make sure that you're assigning the right budget for the goals that you're aiming for. Geo-targeting, often if it includes interest, it's a little setting in Google, but it can really be a killer. Most of the time you want to move it to just presence. That basically means a user is physically present or regularly present in a location, whereas interest is someone who has expressed interest in their browsing behavior to be interested in the geolocation you're targeting. And that can open you up to basically the entire world. So it's best to keep to presence most of the time. There are exceptions to this, but primarily presence. Dwelling on the ad strength in particular, this has been a new thing. People are getting a kind of wrapped around the axle of ad strength, and fundamentally it doesn't have a bearing in performance. What you want to do is drive effectiveness of the ad messaging. Look at the ad messaging. Is it relevant? Is it compelling? Don't worry about ad strength. It's not a KPI. It's not going to affect your quality score. Numerous studies have proven that ad strength doesn't have a correlation to performance, so don't worry about it, basically. Intent filtering as well. You want to filter for intent in terms of non-patient searches. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of searches you'll find that are extremely technical. They're almost always either doctors researching it because they're not specialists, or they are students, medical students. There's a lot of them out there. Then you also have the people just researching, like are interested in the subject matter and are not actually patients. So you've got to try and filter out that kind of traffic where you can. But then also you want to identify ambiguous searches, such as if someone searches for treat a burnt hand, is that ER level burning, or is that just the urgent care burning, or is that even just at home treatment burning? Very different, intense, and so you want to be able to handle that. Not dealing with ambiguity in the productive landing page solutions. So with productive landing page solutions, so if you don't actually build landing pages that can deal with ambiguity, where there's a lot of traffic out there where people are not specifying necessarily what's the right kind of treatment for a healthcare system, then you want to try and have a landing page that covers all the bases, and that's a very key thing. Overpaying for traffic is a classic thing as well, where you don't have max CPCs. Maybe you have a max CPC bidding, or you have a max CPA bidding, or max conversions bidding with no CPC assigned. And also where you have a low quality score, you're going to overpay for the traffic that you get on a low quality score keyword. So you want to fix that so that you are paying as little as you possibly can get away with for any keyword. And then what's driving SEM performance? Well, tight control of traffic. It's very, very needed in healthcare. In the healthcare context, is make sure that you have tight control of the traffic. You have so often, when we've reviewed accounts, we see too many, say, pediatric search terms coming through the main service line search term when there is already a campaign for pediatrics, that kind of thing. There's a lot of overlap that you need to make sure you stop. And then also it muddies the waters when you're trying to test. So tight control of traffic is crucial. Making the structure custom to the service line, to the priorities, to the landing page options as well. Some service lines have one landing page, some service lines have 10. That should dictate your structure pretty heavily. Honing the traffic to avoid the unproductive intent, or as I say, you kind of exclude non-patient style searches, and also the kind of top level research type searches. You want to try and trim that where you can. If you don't have a landing page that covers the sort of a consideration level search traffic. And you want to make sure that ad copy is very impactful, highly relevant as you can get it, and also very impactful with strong benefits, not just benefits for why they should have a particular service, but why they should have a service from you. What makes you best to choose out of that service line? Very, very important you work on optimizing that. Maximizing the ad assets that you use, extensions basically they're called. So images, call out, site links, the more the merrier. You'll get a cheaper traffic for that. You'll also boost your conversion rate. And ensuring the traffic and the structure is as clean as possible before you apply auto bidding for CPA based bidding, because that really opens it up. And it also the other element you want to think about is when you introduce broad match. If the structure and the traffic is clean when you introduce broad match, then the broader universe of searches it comes in with will be that much better and perform that much better. But starting off with auto bidding for CPA is often a problem because not everything is in place, and so you open up to basically noise. You want to avoid noise in this particular scenario. And so over to Jeff for the campaign killers.
Yeah, campaign killers. It's funny, you can do everything we've said here and still have a campaign that fails. And mostly when that happens, it's because, teams basically they fumble the ball near the end zone. So we're just listing out a few common mistakes people make that kill their campaigns, even after they've put a great strategy in place. So first off, Steve mentioned ad copy. Both ad copy and landing page copy, right? If your copy is inauthentic or it's not compelling, guess what? Nobody's going to click on your ad. Nobody's going to convert on your landing page. So you need to always remind yourself, what is this person searching for? How can we be helpful to them in their search? They're essentially raising their hand and asking a question. It's up to you to answer the question. Tell them a little bit about yourself, as Steve said, and your brand as you do that, so that you're a good resource, but you're also differentiating yourself. Second, a lot of these are landing page because, again, very fond of saying, if you your campaign's only good if it sends to a good landing page, right? If you send people to garbage, you get garbage essentially. So the second one for landing page is that sort of text-heavy, overly busy landing pages. You want to keep it simple. You want to give them just enough information to make them feel comfortable, ready to make the next move. Do not overwhelm them or confuse them with too much information. Third, ensuring that the landing page looks good on mobile. We mentioned it's no secret that most searches these days come from a mobile device. There are definitely, exceptions to that, but on the whole, you want to design your landing page for mobile. You want to keep that CTA prominent. You don't want to force people to endlessly scroll to find what they're looking for or understand what they're allowed to do next. You want to make that very simple. Fourth is limiting the conversion options. So best practice is typically 2 CTAs. You could push that to 3 if you want. I wouldn't go more than 3. And then typically make one of those like an online conversion and make one of those a telephone call, ideally. This way you serve both preferences. Because if you think about healthcare consumers, some people really don't want to talk to a human at all. Others would never make a healthcare decision without talking to a human. So of course your CTAs can be as simple or as sophisticated as your system allows, but you want to typically have something that's like an online type of conversion and a call type of conversion. If you do have things like telehealth or online appointment scheduling, you could also obviously prioritize those kinds of CTAs. Next is confusing or clunky UI UX. Again, keep the landing page simple, easy to understand. Best practice is prominent CTA buttons up top, limited text like bullet points underneath to show searchers that they landed in the right place and to show Google that the ad and the landing page are relevant and appropriate for each other. And then finally, no distracting links to other parts of the website. We're fond of recommending dedicated landing pages for paid campaigns. The reason is this: when you're paying for a lead, you want that lead to convert. So make it easy for them to convert. Your search strategy should be focused on those ready to take the next action in their care. So these are not information seekers. These are people ready to become a patient. So your paid strategy should make it easy for them to become a patient. Your organic search strategy can focus on the information seekers, and those people are likely to more, browse your website, navigate through several options, go to different pages, but you don't want to pay per lead for someone just to browse your website. And the consumer doesn't want to be overwhelmed with choices when they have a specific need that they're trying to get addressed. So again, don't overwhelm with links to other parts of your website, no matter how proud you are of your website. Yeah, back to you.
Yeah, so we'll quickly whiz through the takeaways because we're slightly over time. So we want to have a really take away from this that you need flexibility, nimbleness, effectiveness, focus, and you want to measure ROI, move the needle through testing. And there are different options for each channel. You want to make sure you have clean data, in particular through SEM, but that's more within your hands than the other channels. Never stop testing. You want to keep tight control of traffic and message in SEM in particular, and limit campaign granularity, filter traffic for intent as well. Don't use generic messaging. Don't rely on broad match. Don't have cluttered and confusing landing pages. Or limit the conversion options too narrowly. And also in terms of brand strength, brand SEM can drive incrementality, and you can use MMM to drive your branding efforts towards a tipping point that will power your measurable patient growth. And with that, it's Q&A time.
Well, thank you, Steve and Jeff. We've already had a few questions come in, so we'll start with those. And just a reminder, if you'd like to submit a question, simply enter it into the question and answer pane on the bottom, and we'll respond to as many as we can. So let's start with this one. It's sort of the hot topic everyone's dealing with or thinking about everywhere, is how does AI factor into paid search strategy and execution?
Yeah, well, AI is a constantly changing landscape right now. Nothing is set in stone. It's evolving how users interact with it. It's evolving where it shows in terms of devices, and also on the SERP as well, the search engine results page. It's changing and chopping, changing all the time. Google remains dominant in search, and it is foisting AI interactions on users. There's evidence that users are not particularly buying into it, but they're using it anyway because it's in front of them. But really what it is it could be said that AI is kind of slightly hollowing out the middle funnel traffic a little bit. But ultimately, given that our emphasis anyway on paid search is the bottom funnel traffic, it's demand capture, that nevertheless, if you're doing the right things, as we laid out in this, to get really highly efficient search campaigns, if you're doing the right things, most of those things have been correct for quite a while, even before AI. They remain the correct approaches. They will still succeed. So what you're doing, if what you're doing now is succeeding, it should continue to succeed. However, these tips we're given should give you some pointers as to maybe see where the weaknesses might lie, and they will help despite AI. AI is an ongoing situation, and so we'll see how it develops. We have no insights into ads that show in AI right now. Healthcare ads are not showing in AI, but that may happen somewhere down the line. So some of it is wait and see, but also in terms of the evidence, we have seen CTRs fall, but CTRs aren't a KPI. See, what we're looking at is can we maintain our target CPAs? Can we maintain our conversion volumes within the budget? And we still can. So there's no sign yet that if you're doing the right things that you'll suffer any performance drop off. Just the nature of the traffic might change.
Yeah. And I think also it's important I mean, AI means a lot of things. And I do think within how we do paid search, there are a lot of ways that we use AI. From advanced bid management with target CPA, to Steve's point, to building dynamic responsive ads, shaping our keyword strategies. We have an AI tool that refreshes our negative keyword list every 14 hours or so. In addition, we put together our own platform, the Unlock Media Control platform, that adjusts campaigns in real time to improve ROI within a HIPAA compliant framework. So we're not just capturing eyeballs and clicks, right? Again, we're acquiring patients. So at the end of the day, it's not that hard to just buy media and deliver ads, right? Google built a whole business around that. But it is harder, and where our approach takes shape is spending, if you have limited resources, spending those effectively, in ensuring each dollar is used wisely. And I would also say, for AI, we don't just stop at performance. I think everyone has to be serious about AI ethics, ensuring basically fairness and transparency, right? In every decision we automate. So AI does help us continue to improve and deliver upon this philosophy of shifting away from more clicks, as Steve pointed out, to more conversions, from less noise, more impact.
That's terrific and a great response, both of you. And I think with that, we've actually come to the end of our time today. Jeff and Steve, I'm sure the audience joins me in thanking you for that terrific discussion. Thanks also to everyone in our audience for taking the time to join us today. Keep an eye out for the link, which we'll be sending out in the next few days. That concludes today's program. We hope to see you at future forum webinars, as well as the 31st Healthcare Marketing and Physician Strategy Summit, May 4th to 6th, 2026 in Salt Lake City. Please visit the forum website at healthcarestrategy.com to learn more. Finally, be sure to give us your feedback by completing the evaluation survey as you exit the webinar. And thank you and have a great day.